Will we see 7% come back within the next years?
No, I don't think so.
As rates come down, millions of buyers are going to pour into the market. And then, it's going to be, you were competing with 3 when the rates were higher, but as the rates are lower, you're now competing with 10.
I just don't ever think there's a bad time to buy.
Yeah.
I don't.
Our income hasn't caught up to Delaware. Like, people who've lived there their whole lives, they can't afford, our income is just not catching up to where it needs to be for those first-time home buyers.
Well, good morning, good afternoon. Whenever you're tuning into this, I want to get started with where Delaware's housing market is. Got the numbers right in front of me. We're shooting this in September, going into October. Current month's supply of inventory is up on average throughout the last 12 months. We just talked about a lot of these numbers, so I won't pretend like I'm telling you guys these. 2.9 months of supply, which means that is up on average throughout the year. We're getting more supply. 35 days is the average time a home is sitting on the market before it inevitably gets an offer, goes under contract. We'll dive a little bit into why that might be a little misleading, but that is about average for the last 12 months. We have 1,733 new listings that have hit the market just in the last month. That was August. I almost said September. We don't have the full month of September yet. But we do have current September, and it's tracking it being similar. That's up in comparison to normal months throughout 2024 and 23. And at an all-time high since a couple months after COVID, we have units on the market. Different from units listed. That's, homes that have just hit the market versus end of market what's still there. That's at 3,654 homes. We haven't seen the 3,000s at all until this year, and it's looking like we'll see the 4,000s, which for inventory's sake is good. We'll talk a little bit about what that inventory looks like, but can we just kind of go around the table and introduce ourselves real quick? My name's Zach. I've been a real estate agent for 8 years after I got out of the military.
My name is Patricia Erickson. I'm a real estate agent for 2 years.
Mark Pernenzio, loan officer with Whitecap Delmarva for 18 years.
Gosh, old head.
Valerie Gertz. I'm a mortgage broker with Whitecap Delmarva, and I'm in my 3rd year.
Love that. You don't have to stare down the camera either. You can stare down Patricia. It's all good. Camera's not even there. But for those listening that are there, I have 6 questions I would like to walk through with all the experience we have at the table. Active showings. You're going on hundreds within the last year. Hundreds of applications coming in for both refis, purchases, all around. So we have a lot of information at this table, and I kind of want to siphon it down into 6 questions that a lot of people are asking. So number 1, how low will rates go in 2025, so next year? Speaking specifically mortgage rates, not the Fed rate. Very different. Number 2, will rates go back over 7%? We just had a conversation about this. Number 3, buy a home now or wait for another time. Number 4, will Kamala's $25K for first-time home buyers work? Number 5, is moving to who is moving to Delaware, and where specifically are they moving? And number 6, we're going to talk about savings. We're going to talk about the big deal. What's the big deal right now for you? What are you telling your clients to save the money? What's the secret right now? What are you getting them to lean in on to say, hey, go do this right now? There's not as much as there's been in prior years, but I want to open up the conversation. What are our clients saying right now? And then we'll get into our first question. What are our clients saying right now?
Ours, or mine anyway, it's affordability. The wanting a certain payment and it not being reasonable for what the prices are for homes.
You can't smack the table like that. Do it. Hit it harder. Hit it harder.
Get it out of your system.
No, but they're
the market's fine.
I don't want to say unrealistic, but they're not realistic.
What do you mean by not real? What is
the first-time
realistic?
The first-time home buyers, yeah. They want a $1,300 payment, and home prices just aren't there right now.
Let's talk about realistic. What is a realistic payment right now?
Above $2,000.
Yeah.
Probably closer to $3,000 in a lot of cases.
Yeah, if you want a decent home, if you're not going to be a first-time home buyer, it's definitely closer to $3,000. Those repeat home buyers, hopefully they're coming in with a home sale and some equity, and they're able to put some money down and hopefully bring
let's
their
say
payment down,
I'm moving down from Connecticut. I got my home, own my home, leaving and going to a new state. A lot of people are Delaware, South Carolina, Florida, all these different options, but they're moving in with some cash in their pocket. Let's put that to the side. If you just had to go and finance a $400,000 home right now, what is that mortgage payment looking like approximately with taxes and insurance?
You're in the mid 2000s to high 2000s.
I was going to say
I would
like
say
27,
higher. I would say higher.
3.
Yeah, closer to 3.
Yeah.
And I mean, for some people, that's not a problem, and they, like that is affordable compared to buying $1 million home in the Northeast.
Absolutely.
So that's one thing that's special about Delaware is we still have that affordability aspect, even in high rates. Like you can still buy a decent home that's going to fit your family and meet your needs. And, in comparison to other states, especially for all the people that are relocating here, I think that Delaware, because we grew up here, we still might say, gosh, that, that's high, that's expensive for here.
What we've been used to.
In comparison to, when people are relocating, they're like, I love Delaware. I'm getting the house of my dreams.
Well,
someone
property taxes.
from New Jersey, you talk about property taxes. Oh my God. They're
Taxes
number
alone.
one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not the good
And
number
especially with like Smyrna.
Yeah.
Smyrna's bumped up. But even then, like I have clients that are like, that's nothing.
There's still, it's
That's
nothing
nothing.
compared to
Smyrna
where they're
being one
coming
of our
from.
cities.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No.
people relocating, retiring here. I mean, especially from the Northeast, they're happy.
They're very. I would say that person is seeing it from a different perspective, and that's kind of where I wanted to shift. The first-time home buyer right now, we can have a whole separate conversation wrapped around where they're at, what the market looks like for them, because frankly, it's a whole different outlook.
Yeah.
There's a whole different set of scenarios. But everyone's looking at one thing specifically. That was our first question. How low will rates go in 2025? And I want to put a quick disclaimer on this that we can all probably agree on. My specific fortune-telling abilities have been terrible. My visions have been blurry, and my crystal ball's been in the shop for over a year now.
Yeah.
So when we talk about these predictions, it's with the
our
knowledge
best
at our
guess.
it's with the knowledge at our fingertips. Exactly.
Yeah.
I typically say 3 to 4 months is a pretty apt, reasonable time frame to be able to say, hey, based off X, we'll probably have Y. Anything past that, who knows? There's too many factors involved. But let's play the game. Next year, where do we see rates going to and why?
I say like an average of the 5s.
Okay, average of the 5s.
I think that that's a sweet spot. I think that affordability returns, and I mean, like maybe I'm being optimistic.
Can't have that.
I mean, but I think that no one will be disappointed if they're in the 5s. And I think it's possible. I really do. I think that the 10 years trending down, rates are coming down, and hopefully affordability is returning to the marketplace.
Can you explain the 10-year?
That might be a mark.
I don't think anyone can explain the 10-year, but it's mortgage rates don't follow the 10-year specifically, but it is a good indicator on what's going to happen with rates.
Essentially the bond.
Yeah.
Correct. The bond market. Correct. Now, where are rates going? I agree. I think the average is going to be in the mid 5s. I think you're going to see high 5s in the beginning of the year, and then it's going to get down into the 4s at some point next year.
So from the moment we sit this, just to get perspective, we're sitting at about 6.2, I believe is the average 30-year. Right now, I'll actually pull out my phone and go to the Daily Mortgage News to confirm that. What you're saying is by the end of this year, 2024, we get into and pierce into those high 5s?
Consistently, yeah.
Okay.
And right now, you can get into the 5s.
Yeah.
It's just you're paying for it. You're
Shout
buying
out Whitecap.
Yeah, you're buying a point, maybe even 2 points to get into the low 5s.
On a conventional loan.
On a conventional
On
loan.
these government loans, you're already in the 5s without any points.
Yep.
It's dropped 0.08
But that's because we're
morning,
brokers, so we
Correct.
definitely have more competitive rates than others.
And that's very true. So as of right, I just checked, it dropped 0.08 since this morning. It's at 6.11. Perfect example. You guys are a broker. A lot of people might not understand that. I don't want to get into a dissertation about it because I really want to know how low will rates go. But when it comes to getting a lower rate, choosing a brokerage mortgage company is different because you will get a lower rate because you are able to shop it around.
Right.
And Whitecap Delmarva is one of those companies.
And to throw another, we don't have all
Quick
that
plug.
middle management fat that's baked into the rates like other companies do. It's us to the lender. That's it.
You got 10 more seconds. Pitch yourself.
That's it.
Okay,
We're
that's
awesome.
it.
Oh, no.
Brokers are better.
I'm going to take my 10
Brokers
seconds.
are the better.
But yeah, brokers, I mean, we even say brokers are the best because, being able to shop with 20 different rate sheets, all of these investors are competing for your loan. We're able to give you something that's much more competitive than if you were to go to a local bank or some online lender or anything else.
It's like going through a Trivago instead of going to the hotel themselves.
Correct.
Yep.
You're getting to shop all the options on how you can get into that hotel room.
Well, and one more thing, one more plug.
Well past our 10 seconds.
We have these investors that want our business, So they aggressively are pursuing us.
You should rub the table harder.
Hey, we got better by an eighth on rate.
You're moving everything.
You know what I mean? But they want our business.
Yeah.
So how do they get our business?
Yeah.
And not
service,
getting into the
products,
business model.
rates.
The investors are private investors, invest in your brokerage. So they want to grow their money. So they offer better products that are more competitive. Again, White Cap Delmarva, where do you think rates are going to, Realtor?
I agree. I think the mid fives, and not only that, it unlocks the buyers who were like, okay, this is where we're at, but also the sellers too. The sellers who were like, I can't afford to go into these new payments of the 7 and 8%, but okay, 5, that's doable. That's reasonable. I think it unlocks everyone. Yeah. It's a happy medium.
Yeah.
Which is funny because you guys probably all remember the come up from when we were at high 2s, low 3s. And then before we knew it, everyone looked up and rates were 5s and everyone was screaming about how expensive that was. But now what you're saying is if we get back to that, that's kind of where all three of you pretty much think that's where we kind of have the soft landing at. Mm-hmm. That's the common medium.
Yeah.
Yes.
We all agree. 100%.
Yes.
Let's move on to the next one. Let's talk about the other extreme. Go ahead.
I was going to say rates are funky, like we were talking about earlier.
Yes.
A little bit of positive news from the Fed right now.
Absolutely.
And it goes the other way.
Well, to go back into what you just said about the 10-year Treasury bond, there are short and long-term bonds. When the country is seeing a larger amount of people investing in longer term assets for the country can delve out money at a cheaper rate. Mm-hmm. And that leads to us seeing the benefits of it. And what Mark's alluding to here, and I think that's so true, and people don't take in the socio-economic factor. When good news is presented, people go and spend their money at a rate at which they heard it was good. I'm using very loose, non-economic terms here. The point is, when we see inflation, it's usually because people think things are getting better. And we've seen that time and time again where they say, hey, we're going to drop the Fed rate. And then by a month and a half, 2 months past that, things got a little bit out of hand. And now we got to go back to the drawing table.
Yeah.
Right.
So I view it from a more pessimistic angle. I don't think we're going to recover far more than we're at now. But what I personally see is I see more policy being brought forward for programs to get lower. If you meet X, Y, and Z criteria, you can get in because we see that you're having a harder time surviving in this market. Speaking more to someone who doesn't own a home probably right now there, but largely I don't see them going down too much. I'm scared, and we've talked about this, of what would happen if they did.
Yeah.
Do we want to get into that?
Well, yeah, let's get into it. You think values will rise at that point, correct? Or home prices.
Competition comes back.
Competition comes back.
Buyers might have a little bit less like rights that, like what are you willing to bring to the table? Are you willing to waive inspections? Like how much cash can we throw at this deal to make sure you get the house that you want?
COVID when the rates were in the 2s and the 3s, there were
high
homes going.
For some people.
I mean, it was insane. They were going 80 to 100,000 over asking. The competition
a line
was
out the door for an open house
around the block, 5 feet apart. Yep.
Yeah, and I mean that $2,000 payment is at $300,000 now. Maybe it goes up to $350 now, which obviously you have more of a pool of buyers, you know, for your home.
Yeah. In my personal opinion, I think like this winter is a sweet spot. I think that people should be.
Oh, you got to save that for the end. Save your sweet spots.
Okay.
Save your sweet spots, because I agree with you there. I agree with you there for a lot of reasons. Let's go to question number 2. Let's go to the opposite side. How are we done, I should say, with 7%? Will we see the world of 7% come back? Of course, I want to be very clear. If you walk into the bank and you have the wackest credit, no savings, and hardly any income,
correct,
there's no room to complain if you happen to be able to get pre-approved. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So speaking to the person, again, let's imagine we're relocating, we're reassessing our new lifestyle in our new place, and I'm worried that if a blue or a red person steps into the office, that it could lead to rates going back up. So maybe I should go now. But there's also people on the other side of the fence who think, oh, when the election happens, that's when rates are going to drop. Let's wait.
Yeah.
Who's right, who's wrong is what we'll get to in number 3, buy now or wait. But right now, will we see 7% come back within the next years?
No, I don't think so.
No.
I don't think so either.
Can we get a reason why?
I think
Speaking still in this gray area of non-predictability.
If they announce this rate cut tomorrow, I think there's more to follow.
Okay, and tomorrow, in perspective, for right now, this is the mid-September cut.
Correct.
Presumably, we've never, correct me if I'm wrong, a back-to-back cut we haven't seen.
Not since COVID.
Yeah.
2020.
Well, and that would have been an increase. Yeah. So,
I'm sorry. You're right. I'm sorry. Yeah. No rate hikes since who knows how long ago.
Yeah. Or cuts, you mean. Yeah.
Cuts,
you're,
I mean.
you're
Well,
backwards, you're backwards
the
on
cuts were 2000 for COVID.
No, we hiked it in 2000. They got rid of it initially, and then late 2021 into 2022 started to rise it again. Yeah, I get what you're saying. I get what you're saying. I thought you were talking about because of 2020, not actually the year 20. Year right? April,
Correct.
May, they dropped it to 0%, first time ever. Since then, have been slowly tricking it up.
Yes.
This is now the first time we're seeing it getting cut, and the thought process here is, if we see that get cut again, when does it happen again? And you think that's one of the biggest factors that will keep us from getting into the 7% is because we'll keep cutting that? The Fed rate? Okay.
Yes.
I hear you.
I think the bad times short term are gone. That makes sense. I don't think we're going to see the 7s in the next few years. I think we're out of that woods.
Into the next woods.
Yeah.
What do you think the next woods are? If we stay, because there's a problem with every market. There's always a problem for somebody in some market, larger, smaller.
Well, the next woods I still think is going to be inventory. There's still not a lot of homes that people can afford.
Absolutely.
I think that's the next woods.
I also think it's competition. As rates come down, millions of buyers are going to pour into the market. And then, it's going to be, you were competing with 3 when the rates were higher, but as the rates are lower, you're now competing with 10. Yep. So I think that's also, if we're going to have pros and cons of rates, you're going to have more competition and you're going to be waiving a lot more of the things that you might necessarily want. Like I want to get that inspection.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't necessarily want to use all my savings to buy this house, but your affordability is back.
So is it worth, and I don't want to shift right into question number 3. I want to get your take on the 7% side too. Is there any predictability in the mortgage rate?
No. I mean, again, it goes back to what I said originally. I think any inkling of good news could turn it the other way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But I don't think it's going back into the 7s. It's going to go up and down, but it's not going to spike that much more.
Because you bring up the point of when things get good, the rate goes back up because they want to protect things from getting too good because then inflation happens. So your thought process is kind of the guardrails are up. We won't go below 5.
No.
5.5.
I think you might get. Look, I mean, there's still circumstances where they're in the 6s right now. So I mean, high 6s. In some cases. So I just think it's topped out.
Okay.
Short term.
Short term. Speaking next couple years.
Yeah.
Heard that we wouldn't see 7% again, and that we're probably sitting in the peak of mortgage rates right now as we sit in the early fall of 2024.
We've seen the peak, yes.
We've seen the peak, and we're seeing slight going down.
Ups and downs, but never in the mid 7s or.
So going back
8s.
to the person who's sitting back waiting and moving into question number 3, buy now or wait, you would say waiting could potentially be a fruitful option because rates could drop.
I disagree.
So you would say in buy now or wait, you would say buy now.
Yes.
What would you say?
Buy now.
What would you say? You're a little
absolutely
conflicted.
buy now.
Okay.
No. I'm not conflicted on that.
I'm going to say wait, but I want to hear y'all's takes first.
Okay. I'll go. So I think that, you're going to have this sweet spot over the winter where you might not necessarily have to, give everything away, where it's like you can still take advantage of an affordable rate, like an affordable payment monthly. And as that inventory is going up, you're going to have a little bit more of your negotiating power. Not every single buyer is going to jump in the market immediately. So I think that the combination of the winter having higher inventory and lower rates is going to be like a sweet spot for buyers.
And that's the thing, because there's a difference. Now, buyers, I think it's a good time for the negotiation. As a seller who's maybe coming in from a different state with all that equity, I don't think it would matter versus if they buy now versus if they wait to see if the rates come down. Yeah. It wouldn't matter to them. But as a first-time home buyer who's struggling to get in from the jump, I think it's important to go in now.
So you think that the person that's relocating should wait?
Yeah. Yeah, if there's no reason, if they're just looking to relocate because they're retiring and they like our home prices, sure, wait. Because you could have a potential to have the rate come down even more. I don't think it's going to hurt them or gain. It's not going to make a difference right now versus if they wait.
Mark, what are your thoughts on this? You're sitting over there like a Batman villain.
Well, I'm just thinking, I mean, I think she's, everyone's situation's different. Some people have to move for jobs or family for whatever reason. I just don't ever think there's a bad time to buy.
Yeah.
I don't.
I firmly disagree with you on that.
That's just always been my mentality.
Why?
Well, I mean,
explain that to somebody who hears that and hears, oh, he wants me to give him commission.
Well, then keep paying rent. Now, look, again, everyone's situation's different. If you're living at home and maybe you're not in a rush, maybe then you could argue that. But if you're paying someone else's rent,
well, let's not talk about that person. Let's talk about somebody who's sitting on the home they're in a property that they own that wants to move.
Well,
should they wait and think home prices, they're probably not skyrocketing up again? The home I'm in, even if the home prices did go up, mine would presumably go up too. And to Patricia's point, or like maybe in February, March, higher inventory, I get more choices. I could see the detriment of that in selling my home, of course. But if lower rates were to come, I can see the possibility of waiting being the better option there.
Well, maybe in that case, when you already own a home,
that's where we're talking.
Yeah.
And of course, there's different edge. Yeah.
Look, you're right.
No, I'm wrong. You're saying don't back down. No. Don't back down from your point.
Your situation's right. If you're a first-time home buyer, again, different route here. Why would you want to pay someone else's mortgage?
Well, we can get into a whole conversation on that scenario.
I know. I'm trying to revert.
I get it because we want to solve the problem for the first-time home buyer.
Correct.
I'm not saying my solution's a solution. Nobody's brought up a solution. I think getting a path that is like down payment assistance programs, that's what they're designed to be, is a path that first-time buyers can follow that nobody else can access, no LLC can access, no former homeowner can access, only them, and that is their path to getting into a home. Those programs don't offer that at this point. Most of them do not offer what's needed to get into the home, and that's mainly due to the fact that interest rates are higher and home prices are higher. It really doesn't have anything to do with the programs themselves. It's just the median income of somebody who's under 35 versus the median income needed to become a homeowner is so drastically different. Yeah. And you have to be married, and both of you have to have good credit scores. Both of you have to have low to moderate debt, which is below 45%. I mean, there's so many things that have to line up that path for the first-time buyer doesn't exist. I don't know how it's created, but right now the old one's covered in weeds and barbed wire. And we keep yelling, hey, there's down payment assistance programs. And they're like, I don't have any money.
But that's the problem. Even with those, it's not enough money that the assistance is. Because you still have, whether you apply it towards down payment or closing costs, you still have the other one you have to figure out.
Of course.
Yeah, our income hasn't caught up to Delaware. Like
Delaware specifically, mid-Delaware. Oh my God.
Yeah, when we had COVID and all these buyers are selling their homes from out of state, making $800,000, and they're buying their $400,000 property here and stacking up all of our prices. But then the people who've lived there their whole lives, they can't afford. Like our income is just not catching up to where it needs to be for those first-time home buyers. Yeah.
That sentence right there makes me reconsider my point and yours on waiting. Because Delaware is a hot spot right now for people moving in. We just talked about in our meeting, that's not stopping anytime soon, no matter what the affordability levels are. Because as things get better, people have more room to move. And as things stay or get worse, they'll just want to move from the place that they're in even more. So Delaware is a cheaper option for pretty much every state up above the Northeast and several out west from us. We'll cover that in 5 of who is moving to Delaware and why and where. But really, back to the first-time buyer, and then we'll move back on. Is there an option right now if someone's listening right now and thinking, "Wow, I'm just up a stream without a paddle"? Are there down payment programs that could get me started? Is there a paddle out there that can be used? I know lower rates if they use a brokerage system like you guys with White Cap. I know Delaware has like the Delaware Diamonds and certain positions and jobs.
The Sussex County grant as well.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, there are programs. I don't know if they're the solution to like your regular monthly affordability. Like, can it get you in the house with less money out of pocket? For sure. Yeah. But it doesn't change the fact that our salaries are behind.
Yeah. Well, let's move on. So in an effort to increase the power behind a first-time home buyer and anybody who hasn't owned real property, Kamala Harris is says if she's elected, there will be a policy enacted stating that $25,000 would be put into the pockets at the closing table. That was made specific. It wouldn't be a tax break. It'd be $25,000 in money for people who have never owned real property. Now, just to preemptively state, as we're having this conversation, no further policy or description of that has been released. It's been in a couple interviews, it's been talked about, but there's no documentation stating where the money is sourced from. How do you qualify? There's been rumors of if your parents owned a home, you wouldn't qualify. There's been a lot of rumors flying that it would be split up between two different segments, that it will be a tax break. So there's all this if, and but. But let's assume this is a flat out $25,000. If you've never owned a home, no questions asked. I don't know where we fund that, how it's made possible, and how the criteria is that lax, but let's play the game. Does that help the housing market? Does it help the first-time home buyer?
I personally disagree. It's kind of like a grant.
I said, does it help or does it not help? I disagree.
It doesn't. I'm impartial. It doesn't help. I disagree.
I disagree with the whole question.
Literally. No, I do not think it helps.
Okay.
It's almost like a grant. That's great. $25K. Awesome. It doesn't help with our monthly payments. Not enough for it to make a significant, let's move forward. And then you think with all these people with cash, kind of like COVID, we're just getting free money and it's getting thrown around in the wrong reasons. And now where we're at, it's going to be the same thing. You're going to get
that you jumped to the COVID checks.
The negotiations are just going to go crazy. And then home prices are going to go over ask because we have $25,000. It's not the route that we need to take moving forward. It's still going to affect the affordability.
I was going to say, so we have the Sussex County grant, which is $20,000, City of Dover grant, which is $20,000. And there's people that really can afford their monthly, they've been paying more than that in rent, for the last few years. And it really has, changed and shifted and given them a place to negotiate by getting them in the door.
But a lot of people don't know about that grant. So it's still negotiation-wise, and it's only in Sussex County. If every single person gets this and they're all aware, it's just going to be shooting your foot.
Yeah. And the harder things about these grants is they have, assuming that there's no, income caps like they typically do. Because there's people that okay, so they make the same amount as a, a smaller household, but they have the same amount of income and they don't qualify. But these people have 4 kids and you know what I mean? It's
kids be expensive.
Yeah. And so, it just, for me, I think that if you're looking for a roof over your head and, something for your family to be able to build equity, because I think that I would take any program for any home buyer. As long as it's not, there's programs that we say no to because it's just just because it's money at 8%. That's not what we're willing to do. We're trying to set you up for success and be an advisor and not just sell you a loan. So, there's certain things where it's I want to be able to sleep at night and make sure it's a good program and make sure that it works for people. But I think that any type of program is going to help. I really do.
I disagree.
Okay.
I disagree. Only because, first, real quick, you didn't patch in there. Just yes or no?
I'm impartial.
You disagree with the question altogether like Patricia. Okay.
I have opinions. I could argue both sides.
Both ways. Yeah. Here's the side I view it pessimistically from, where I kind of get my disagreement. And maybe I'm wrong here. I imagine it's like the Coliseum. And I'm locked up in my Coliseum cell. I don't know. We're getting ready to throw me out to fight. I'm a prisoner and they just throw me out for entertainment. And there's thousands of us. And if you win, you get out. You win, you're out of there. And so for years, I'm trying to win. I'm trying to get out. I'm trying to win. I'm trying to get out. And they come around, and they're walking around for the first time ever with a shield and a big old fresh sharp sword. And I'm like, oh shit. If I had that, I might be able to win this. I might be able to make it happen. So I get it. I hold it. I'm like, oh yeah. Then I get out in the Coliseum and I realize every single one got the sword and shield too. I feel if everyone gets the $25K and the sellers going back to your point, are aware of what's going on, this isn't a secret thing, that it's going to fall back on the sellers being stingier on their negotiations, not being willing to give more terms, price, even maybe falling back on above asking offers, because you could have 2 or 3 different buyers all with the same program, all with the same $25K in cash that, no offense, these people haven't had a track record of economic or any type of financial history. Whether they haven't gotten the opportunity to get started or it was poor, they haven't. So now you're throwing everyone $25,000. They're going to use as much as they can in any way, shape, or form to buy that home. And I just feel it adds a slew of competition, to your point, with no inventory to back it up, because we wouldn't be lowering rates to access this. We'd be handing first-time buyers money to access this. That we wouldn't unlock any inventory and we'd just create a ton of demand, which probably wouldn't inevitably help the first-time buyer.
No.
Well, and that's what...
And I could be wrong, but that's the pessimistic side of it.
That's where I was going to kind of do what you did there, but except minus the gladiator thing.
No Coliseum side?
Coliseum.
I kind of like to imagine it's a war.
The money, the cash to close, 9 out of 10 times her or I could figure it out, or with the agent.
Yeah.
You get a good agent to get seller's assistance. The affordability is still the issue.
Yeah.
The clients just don't want the payment, or they won't get approved for that monthly payment. So that's why it's going to help.
25,000 is not going to.
Can that 25,000? We don't even know how to talk about. Can the 25,000 be used toward credit card payments and get your debt paid off for the car
That
that's
would be
400 on your
great.
debt to
Most
income?
grants cannot. They're not going to pay off your credit cards. But I mean, there's certain programs that it's like, we can use these funds to buy down your rate to create a more affordable environment for you to make this workable. So as long as it can do that, and we're helping them, also covering closing costs, getting them in the door. So as long as there's a combination of like,
This goes towards buying down your rate.
yeah, like it can, or at least it can. Yeah. If you need it to.
How the funds can be allocated. That makes and I've heard someone else say, not to cut you off, that 25,000, though good, is completely different in whatever market you're in.
Yeah, that's true.
Very
That's
different
fair.
comparatively to whatever market.
It gets eaten up quick in Delaware.
You might think Delaware that goes a long way. That might cover all your closing costs.
Yeah.
You're still probably going to have a down payment. So that's another thing to consider. You look at Arkansas, their average closing cost, now who wants to live in Arkansas, is about like $7,000 on their homes, where ours is closer to 21, 24.
Yeah, from
we have the
Arkansas.
most expensive.
Listen, anybody out there in Arkansas, you got to move to Delaware. So we're going to call that a wash on will that work? And I agree. We don't have enough data on what it's going to be. We need some on both sides. I'm completely politically neutral. I won't allow you guys to speak on where you are. I'm just going to go ahead and for the show state we're politically neutral and speaking just to the housing market. We don't know whose options what will benefit. You were going to bring one last point on this.
I was just going to say they should give you options. Maybe, again, we don't know what it is yet, but maybe less cash to help and lower rate. Like have a hybrid version of it. But again, what would I know?
I think the red
Kamala
side
knows what's going on with the housing market better.
Hey, I saw a little attitude coming out there. Don't do that. I also don't know policy-wise. I don't know the specifics of RFK joining with. Yeah. He's endorsing Trump. I don't know if he's on. Yeah. He's running. Okay, so he had a lower mortgage rate idea that could affect lower rates for first-time homebuyers. I don't know if the Red's adapting that, but I agree with your points that the money getting thrown in is a Band-Aid, it feels, to a bigger problem with affordability month to month with that mortgage.
Yeah.
So let's move on to the 5th, and then the 6th is what's the current big deal for us in Delaware. If you're relocating into Delaware, where's the best deal, best neighborhood right now, best opportunity, best program? But lastly, before we do that, who's moving to Delaware? And more specifically, where are those people moving to? So when people are coming into Delaware, who is it? Who's this person? Where are they coming from? What are you seeing? And where are they moving to? I'll start off as a military vet. I know for the last 8 years, my second client, my third and fourth client, and hundreds in between have been PCS. Yep. They're moving in, relocating to the Dover Air Force Base. Couple every now and then are like McGuire up in Jersey that want to drive from northern Delaware like crazy people. But large part, a lot of veterans. Carl on our team who's sitting behind, I don't think she's on camera, veteran, myself veteran, Jeff veteran, wifey of a veteran, wifey of a veteran. Nothing.
Sorry.
No accreditation.
He's helped a lot of veterans buy homes.
Helped a ton, but he can't sign up for USAA, so that's what matters. Their mortgages stink, so that's okay. All right. I don't know if anyone's going to get mad over that, but their mortgages and their insurance. A lot of
people are unsubscribing.
And their insurance, though, is normally really high, right? Is anyone pulling good USA insurance these days?
No, I think
that
going to an insurance broker just like you would a mortgage broker makes sense.
Because you get to shop it around.
Yeah.
So let's get back into it. Who's moving to Delaware and where are they moving to?
So besides the military, because that's a lot of who comes in, but I would say the retirees for sure, out-of-staters that from New York, Jersey, Philly, all of the in-between that have, $600,000 and just are sitting on it. And so they'll come in and spend $450 here and still have a little bit of cash flow and live their best lives.
And to be clear, sometimes those people in the $600K, they're sitting on some of that's home equity.
Yep.
Sell their home.
Yep.
It's worth $200,000 more, $250,000 more than what it was 5 years ago. Makes sense.
Yeah.
I would say military, obviously, retirees, and then I have a lot of people right now that are in Philly, around Delaware, that are young professionals
want to skip the line,
that want a cheaper cost of living, that don't have families yet. I have a lot of that right now. I don't know if that's a trend.
What's that called? No, young adult, no kid. What are those called?
I know what you're talking about.
2 incomes,
DILFs,
no kids. What? Dink.
DILF is DILF is much different. Jeez, that is not the same thing.
They're not even
I
dinks
realized what I
necessarily.
said.
It's just young professionals.
Dual income, no
kids.
Dink. Got it. I was saying ding.
A lot of them aren't dinkies, but it's just single sinkies. Yeah.
I'm lost.
People that were
single income, no kids.
Single income, no kids. Got it. The no kids factor is big, but you're saying professionals living in around Philly, Jersey.
A lot of hybrid.
And again, I don't know if that's a trend.
Hybrid work.
They go once a day in Philly, and so they'll just spend
or
the rest of the time.
remote workers.
Man, I remember a conversation we had late 2020. Talking about the great migration, how it was going to begin happening, that people were having remote work opportunities, hybrid opportunities, and it's come to fruition. And it's actively happening where you just brought up, price points going up, price distribution. We're seeing metropolitan areas drop in a lot of areas in consideration that most have gone up 47%. Right. Those areas only going up 26 or 36. Can you stop are you playing with the wire now?
I got it.
Someone's listening in their headphones right now. What is that?
I know, right? I would like to add one more group that's
moving into
not necessarily moving because they're investors, but investors that want that vacation here. They want to own a second home here. They want to have an Airbnb business. But I mean, we see that a lot too.
Do you know the percent? I know the percent now for Delaware 2024 as of July through January, the percent that were purchased by LLC or non-primary owners.
Lay it out, big fella.
We're ready.
He wants to say the stats so bad.
I want to hear your guess. Percent last 6 months, January through July.
That the buyers in an LLC?
Non-primary.
Yeah, non-primary owner that essentially, for all layman's terms, a person's buying it to rent it out. Airbnb, vacation rental.
18%.
18%.
I was going to say 20. I was actually going to be 19, but I would do 22%.
Price is right. That's nice. You're getting a good little gap there. Okay.
28.
It's 31.
Oh, that's actually...
It's nearly a third
surprising.
of purchases, and that actually outpaces the national average, which is about 26, 27%.
Wow. So that just proves that Delaware is a good place to invest.
Exact
And
reason I brought that up.
Yep.
It's outpacing what's already a high number.
Yep.
What a lot of people would say is a high number, a quarter, just above a quarter. We're closer to a third. 1 out of 3 are being purchased by someone who doesn't plan to live there.
So again, why rent when you can buy?
Well, I think it speaks to 2 different points. It speaks to, if you don't buy, you're going to more than likely see more and more people who have already bought buy more. Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
So where I was going. So the sooner you can get in, going back to do you buy now or do you wait? The sooner you get in, the lesser opportunity for the investor to buy another and another and another.
Especially that low price point.
Yeah. What was that?
That was just my watch that time.
God, man, it sounds like you're throwing something every time you talk.
Tighten up over here,
Let's move on to the last question. Do we want to hit where? We didn't really hit where in Delaware. You mentioned that there's quite a few people up in Philly that just want to scoot across into Wilmington, Pike Creek, Claymont. Yeah.
We're all over. I mean,
I know. I was going to say.
Dover Air Force Base people are moving in Kent County usually. And I want to be 15 to 20 minutes north, 15 to 20 minutes south. It's like, okay, Kent County without Southwest, without Deep Felton, Harrington.
Yeah.
I also see a lot of people, we'll throw one more out there. We have our zones video. We talk about like the 5 zones of Delaware. Zone 5, which is the west side of Kent County and the west southern side of Sussex County. And this is the area I describe as, if you're looking to relocate, this is where you can still get your dream home deal. This is where you can still get the 6 acres of wooded lot that needs to be developed.
Georgetown type
area. You want to get developed. You want to be a little off the map, but not 45 minutes from the grocery store. And you also don't want to pay $1 billion.
Correct.
Right.
That's like kind of it's not kind of, it's my big deal. That's my opportunity zone. That's my big deal for someone relocating in. So I'm curious for you, state who it's for, because this is for my relocator looking to buy and build the dream home. This isn't I'm going to a builder and getting in the community. It's like we're going to get a lot. We're going to get it developed. You're going to get a new construction loan with Whitecap, and you're going to get that built by an independent, you and I, Green Diamond, one of those people, Carl Deputy, which they're expensive these days, Carl Deputy. They've always been expensive. But what's your big deal? I'm going to put my mic down and let us go through one by one. Mark, you want to start?
I mean, probably what you just said. I mean, Western Delaware, Western Kent, Western Sussex, probably actually Kent County, you can still get a deal too.
Yeah.
Just Kent County in general. If you don't have kids, you know, maybe you're okay with a certain school districts, you know, where it doesn't matter and you can just get a better house.
Sorry, I need to crack a cold one. It's an energy drink.
I think that my big deal would probably be more geared towards those investors, you know, people that could buy a condo in Sussex County, in eastern Sussex County. You know, you get all the amenities and you really don't have much that you have to take care of.
That's a great point.
And then if you're, you know, you decide like, I don't want a vacation there. I don't want to be there this year. I want to do an Airbnb. Like I've seen the schedule. I see what people are making on those. And I mean, like it's.
Can I speak to that?
Yeah.
The Airbnb market is probably one that people are a little fearful of right now because the supply is so high. Everyone's been like, I want an Airbnb. Delaware doesn't, in my opinion, fall into that category. I think Airbnb falls back to earth with people having Airbnbs in places people want to go.
Correct.
Right.
Milford, Delaware Airbnbs, love Milford, live in Milford. Probably not going to have a ton of Airbnbs surviving outside of what they get from GE Turf from sports tournaments.
Correct.
Right.
Like there's no one's traveling in to go have the vacay with the family for a week there. But getting down, we have one down in the Milford Marina in Sussex that's on the water. Guy made $96K last year, only renting it out 5 months. So the other 7 he could utilize.
That's my big deal.
That's a great deal. And the numbers work in Delaware.
As an investor, you not only get to take advantage of it as your second home, be able to vacation there, but like being able to like capitalize on what we have, like our state parks and our amazing restaurants and everything down there. Like, why wouldn't you? Why wouldn't you invest here?
The numbers work. The property taxes are low.
Yeah.
Also, the vacation aspect, another reason
demand is high.
The demand is high. There's a lot of people that will continue to vacation because the wealth gap's not going away. There will be a higher end person that will always be vacationing. It's been upticking every year. So people are willing to spend. And if you're in an area where people expect a certain, I don't know, cleanliness lifestyle, you can afford to pay the internet guy, the cleaning guy, the people that upkeep that Airbnb, turn it over because they're going to charge a nightly rate that's worth it. All the people I've talked to that have Airbnbs, I mean, their cap rate is crazy compared to if they just rented it normally, where they go from like, oh, this would be an 8% cap rate. So no, I'm sitting at like a 21% cap rate, basically meaning it's going to pay for itself within 5 years.
Right.
It's a wild thing to get in real estate investing. So big deal, real estate investors, big deal. I don't know why I'm big deal for, big deal. Sussex County, Southwest Zone 5, you kind of agree with that? What else? What else are we thinking?
Yeah, I think Kent County is where you get the deals. I specialize in Kent County, so especially when it comes to the Newcastle buyer that's getting frustrated because of the prices and just the availability of homes, go to Smyrna. Yeah. Smyrna, you can find land, the new construction build, without paying for Middletown prices. They're not there yet. It's not as developed.
Yeah, there's a lot of reason to think it'll get there, being squeezed between Dover and Middletown. That makes complete sense.
And it's
coming
next.
next.
Well, that's happening in Milford.
That's happening exactly in Milford. And it's slowly
for
getting
different
into
reasons, not Middletown, but because of the beaches.
And going down south, you're seeing Milton and Millsboro growing. Milford's next. And then after Milford, it's going to be Felton.
People are like, you got a lot of mill towns down there.
Lots of M's. But those are where the deals are. Milford, closer to the beaches without spending the beach money. You're close to the hospital.
Felton,
all of that. That's a good hub to start new construction, not paying for the prices. And then same with Smyrna. I think I
agree 100%.
Yeah.
I agree as well. And then looking at the new construction through the lens of maybe you're not getting your independent lot with the independent builder. You want to maybe even look at the 55 pluses. I know in Magnolia, right off Route 1,
Smyrna's got a lot of 55 pluses.
Good ones too. They got Nobles Pond just south. You got Four Seasons in K-Hov.
Yep.
Ashburn's got a good one. Mm-hmm. Sorry to cut you off.
No, you're good.
No, I'm not. I should have corrected you. That's my fault. I apologize. Yeah. So that's a great one.
Yeah.
And we talked about, and we won't get deep into it, the discrepancy between income in Kent County, specifically the Dover area, versus the price point of homes. The relocation market is largely supporting Kent County's housing market. There's not a lot of people, and if you're listening to this and you're hearing this and this fits you, I'm not talking to you. I'm talking about the numbers. Delaware, Dover specifically, is number one in the country for percent ownership by the middle class when the middle class makes more or less than 75K. Number one. It's like 62, 63% that people are middle class.
I believe that.
And that right there lays out that 63% of people more than likely can't afford a home. So it could be a deal for someone moving in. Let's finish off with you. Where's your deal at, man?
I said it already. I agreed with
you. You allude to, that didn't count though. You alluded to somebody else's. Where's Mark Paranunzio sending his people? I get on the phone with you. I'm like, Mark, what's going on? I'm coming from New York. Where's the deal?
Bang for buck, short distances is Kent County.
What accent was that at the very end?
Long Island.
Like fake.
Yeah,
what's the deal? It was a villain.
A villain?
Yeah, like a Disney villain.
Yeah.
With the voices.
Play that back. Yeah. That's a little...
I didn't know Disney villain was an accent.
You know who's else also doing new construction where it kind of shocked me? Ellendale. Ellendale is really starting
just south of Milford.
Yeah, that in Georgetown.
Starting to get developed.
The beach is running out of room.
It's the areas that are near Harbison, Milton, even getting into Gunsboro and Dagsboro. Those were areas that were dumps 20 years ago. Houston. Like the areas are not Houston, spelled the same.
Houston.
Is that where the deal is for you, Houston?
No, I still think it's Kent County.
Stop saying the same thing. You got to give them a new one.
Okay, it's short distance to the beach. I'm talking about price point. It's Kent County.
I love Kent County. I'll always be a fan of Kent County. You know, you're not far from everything. And I agree.
45 minutes to the beach, 45 minutes to Wilmington.
I'm sending estimates to people, and I'm like, this house has a half acre and a garage.
Hour 20 to Baltimore.
You're a single income person. You can afford this.
Add $100,000 if it's Middletown. Add $100,000 if it's down at the beach.
Do you think there's a lot of people that live outside of Delaware that don't realize the lifestyle difference, economically speaking at least, of moving to Delaware versus where they are? You think a lot of people don't realize how much cheaper it could be? Speaking specifically to someone looking to retire. I mean, you go out to eat in New Jersey, and it's going to be so much more expensive. You pay your tax bill, your utility bill. You do anything there, you breathe, it's going to be more expensive.
Yeah.
Right.
Do you think there's a large amount of people that don't know about Delaware? Do you think Delaware continues to grow at a higher pace? Because Delaware, if you look at a map, specifically a tax relocation map, you can look at, I think the website's How Money Walks. It measures the gross income of all of the population for that state based off tax returns. And it does the math year over year. How much did they gain or lose in their own population's income versus last year? And if you look, you can look it up yourself. Maine, New Hampshire, Connecticut, Vermont, New York, Pennsylvania, New Jersey, all the way down Maryland, blood red. Blood red. Green being they made money year over year. Red meaning people left and they are losing money. And you can see this drip down effect coming from the Northeast. And you see Delaware, just this lonely little green. Lonely little green. The South Carolina gets green. West Virginia gets a little lighter red. But still, places like that are losing people year over year, losing high income individuals, and are coming into places like Delaware. And if you're someone on the outside of Delaware looking in, that tells me the party has had invites sent out. This is no longer a secret.
Yeah. Well, the taxes alone, I mean, that would drive, even if you're in North Carolina or South Carolina, like one of the, light reds, I mean, they're the ones coming in and saying our taxes are insane.
Oh my gosh, yeah. Especially people moving up from like Northern Virginia, getting over from like, oh my gosh, Alexandria, Annapolis, DC, wild tax bills.
$1,400 a month? No, it's $1,400 a year.
Yeah.
Like it's a huge
difference.
And I think
that, because of things like this, because of conversations like this and content like this, people are getting smarter and they're realizing like, I'm responsible for the future of my family's financial future, and I can be in a better position if I just relocate.
And it's such a different world. And I hear you on that, but it's such a different world now than it was 10 years ago, 20 years ago, even 30 years ago is even crazier. Where I feel 30 years ago, moving and relocating was a whole different process. Like, what really changes at this point in your life if you relocate? Like, you're still connected to everything, everyone all the time. You still have access to everything, everywhere all the time. You still have, a lot of times, so you're saying between digital work, people that are retired or hybrid work, they don't necessarily have to be at their jobs. And that's why we're seeing metropolitan strips, even in Atlanta and DC and even New York, losing value because people aren't going to the office. Do we still see Delaware grows off of that, and price points, if you were to send out the last little guess, price points keep going up in Delaware over the next year or 2 years?
I was going to say yes.
Like
I think that
they're not going to go down. I know that.
The synchronized teeth suck there. Oh, and then you added one. There you go.
Yeah.
I guess when I'm looking at this and I'm looking at our inventory, I don't know if it'll stay the same or if it'll go up. I guess it just depends on how things play out. If I had to guess, I think that home values are going to continue to go up, though.
If I can give you a short-term analysis from October to January of last year and October to January the prior year, it started going down from a high that was in the prior months in the summer, ended up peaking in October, and then would fall. So more than likely, we don't get to more than 4,000 this year, but next year's right around the spring market will probably hit that.
And this market is so weird because I feel like Kent County, their value is going down. Correct me if I'm wrong. I don't know.
In a lot of areas, year over year, school district wise, places are losing 1-2%.
Even though Kent County is, like, in my eyes, the best place to live and the best deal, I feel like the values are going down.
Well, we'll get into this on another podcast because we are going to do, and we already have done, if you're interested, school market updates, if you're interested in the numbers of all these specific areas, we'll be doing more again here in October. One thing I would lay out is these areas are more than likely, and seems like they're losing value not based off list price but off close price, and that's what that number is based off of. It seems that most of these homes are listed for 2, 3, 4% more than what they're inevitably selling for, and seeing as homes haven't gone up an insane amount over the last 12 months, that's leading to this number on the paper that says home prices have dropped 1, 2, 3%. What I actually think is happening is we're starting to see the influence of demand being slow, less actual traffic going through the home, less offers being given, and sellers being more lenient and inevitably bending the knee a bit more toward a normal market. Because 102% list to sale price isn't normal.
Yeah.
Right.
That's not normal. 93 to 94 is normal. We're still at about 98. So I think that continues to happen, and it's just based off of being brought back to a little bit of reality.
Yeah.
Final
Makes
takes?
sense.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with all of that. I think that appraisers will be grateful too. I do. I think that because we every once in a while we get to have that conversation with an appraiser, and they're just like, just because that's what the house is listed for doesn't mean that's what it's worth. Just because that's what you're willing to pay doesn't mean that's what it's worth. And so
I disagree with the second point.
But
you're willing to pay for it, that's what it's worth, right?
I agree.
Yeah.
But when you're financing it.
True. When the bank gets the final say. Yeah, that's the final point.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I still think that it's worth to buy now.
Awesome. Great conversation, y'all. Any final points?
No, I was going to say the same thing. It's always a good time to buy.
Jesus. All right. Yeah. Date the mate. Marry something.
Date the mate.
Date the mate.